Assalamu alaikum, boys and girls. Last time we discussed about work and energy and different forms and kinds of mechanical energy. So in the kinds of mechanical energy, we discussed about the kinetic energy and potential energy. And the formulas for the kinetic energy and potential energy are today we are going to discuss about the law of conservation of energy. You people are already familiar with this law. According to this law, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can be converted from one form to another or transferred from one body to another, but the total energy remains the same. Law of conservation of energy says the energy can neither be created nor destroyed. We cannot create it or we cannot destroy it. We already we have a certain amount of energy that is conserved in our universe. We are just converting its form. Like if we burn coal or oil, we change chemical energy into heat and light. So it's a change from one form to another, or is transfer from one body to another. But the total energy in this universe remains the same. For example, if I consider an object of mass m at a height h from the ground, as you know that when it is at rest, its speed is zero. So the kinetic energy, that is the energy possessed due to motion, is zero. But due to its height, it has potential energy. mgh, which is maximum at this height. As we release it, it starts falling under gravity. Its height decreases, but speed keeps on increasing. During its motion, downward fall, at a certain stage, it possesses both kinetic energy as well as potential energy, because at this stage it has some speed. Due to the fall, it is falling with some speed, and it has a height as well. It has some height as well. It possesses both energies. But during the fall, as the height decreases, potential energy decreases. As speed increases, kinetic energy increases. So what is happening? The potential energy is changing into kinetic energy. So somewhere during its motion, it possesses both potential and kinetic. So at this stage, the total energy is sum of its potential energy and kinetic energy. At the top, the total energy was potential energy, that is mgh. But somewhere in the middle, during its motion, during its fall, it possesses both kinetic and potential energy, and its total energy is the sum of potential and kinetic. Just before hitting the ground, its speed is maximum. Height is zero. So because of maximum speed, its kinetic energy is maximum, and potential energy but potential energy is zero because the height is zero. So if I apply, if I use height zero in the formula mgh, the potential energy come out to be zero. So the sum of these two energy gives us the total energy of the body. So at this stage, potential energy is zero, kinetic is maximum. So what is happening here? The potential energy has changed into kinetic energy. At the top, potential was maximum, kinetic was zero. At the bottom, at the near the ground, as the height has reduced to zero, velocity has becomes maximum just before hitting the ground. Kinetic energy is maximum, potential is zero. Their sum will be the total energy of the body. So energy at any stage, at the top, at the middle, or at the bottom, will be same. Total energy will be same. Potential energy at the top or the kinetic energy at the bottom, they are same. Or if in the middle, if I take the sum of kinetic and potential, their sum will be same as the kinetic energy at the bottom or the potential energy at the top. So this example proves the law of conservation of energy or interchange of kinetic energy or potential energy into kinetic energy. If you consider a pendulum, pendulum is simply a mass attached to a string at one end, and the other end of the string is attached to a rigid support, something like ceiling. If I displace it to, if I hold the bob or this pendulum and bring it over A, when I'm holding it at point A, its height from point B is h. I'm considering the point B as the ground level or the reference level. So it is at B, the mass or this bob or pendulum is at a zero level. At A is at a height h from B. So when I'm holding it, its speed is zero. So kinetic energy is zero. Because it has a height, so its potential energy is mgh. As I release it, it moves towards B. During its motion, its speeds keep on increasing. When it passes B, its speed is maximum. So kinetic energy is maximum. and its height has decreased to 0. So its potential energy becomes 0 at B. Again it rises. So what has happened between A and B? Potential energy has changed into kinetic energy as the mass m or bob of the pendulum reaches B. From A to B, potential changes into kinetic. So all the potential energy at A changes into all the kinetic energy at B. So from B to C motion, again, as it rises, its speed decreases, but height keeps on increasing. Again, when the bob reaches C, its height becomes h, is the same height as the height of A from B. The speed becomes 0. So kinetic energy is 0, potential energy is maximum. So during motion from B to A, the height, bob is gaining height, but its speed is decreasing. So kinetic energy is changing into potential energy. Due to decrease in speed, kinetic decreases. Due to increase in the height, the potential increases. So during this motion from A to B, B to C, potential changes into kinetic. Due to height, decrease in height, potential decreases. Due to the gain in speed, kinetic increases. From B to C, speed decreases, height increases. So kinetic energy decreases, potential energy increases. So this proves the law of conservation of energy. The energy is changing from one form to another. But if during the motion, if we consider a position somewhere, if I consider a position D, at this position, the bob possesses both energies, kinetic as well as potential, because it has certain height as well as it is moving, so it has a speed. So due to motion, it has kinetic energy, and due to height, it has potential energy. So the total energy, potential plus kinetic at D, total energy at B, that is purely kinetic energy, or total energy at A, that is purely potential energy, are all same, which proves the law of conservation of energy. During the burning of oil or coal, the chemical energy possessed in the oil or coal changes into heat and light. The one form changes into another. The chemical energy, the oil or coal burns because of their chemical property. So during burning, due to oxidation, they changes into heat and light. So it's a conservation of energy from one form, conversion of energy from one form to another. Similarly, if a cyclist is going up a hill, the kinetic energy present in its muscles, is used to pedal this bicycle, which gains while going up. The kinetic chemical energy in the muscle is used to pedal the bicycle. Chemical is changing into kinetic, and due to motion, it reaches the top. When it reaches the top, it has gained the potential energy. So chemical energy in the muscle changes into kinetic, and when it reaches the top, Kinetic changes into potential energy. So at the top, if we release the bicycle, let it go, so that potential which changes into kinetic energy again. So this is how the energy changes from one form to another. So remember, according to law of conservation of energy, the energy in this universe is conserved. The total energy of the universe is constant. It's just changing from one form to another, or it's transferring from one body to another. Our next topic is efficiency. Function of a machine is to work at a rapid rate, to save over time, not to save over energy. Machines make the things to do in a convenient manner, to make our life easy. They do not save energy, they just save over time. They do things in a short time. But during the working of a machine, a machine loses lots of energy, wastes lots of energy, because we have to work against the friction and against the weights of the parts of the machine. So the energy that we supply to the machine, we do not get the same amount of energy as the output. The lots of energy is wasted in the form of heat to overcome the friction. The energy supplied to the machine is called input. And the work done by the machine is called output. Rather useful work done by the machine. Now, if I say if I try to write an equation between input and output, it will be remember, input and output are never equal. Why? Because the energy is wasted to overcome the friction or to work against the friction. During the work against the friction, a lot of energy is wasted in the form of heat and sound. So input cannot be equal to output. The machines are wasting lots of energy, but they are saving over time. So the equation between input and output will be written in this form. Input will equal to output plus energy wasted by the machine. A machine, how useful is a machine? For that purpose, we calculate its efficiency. Efficiency just tells us how useful it is or how much energy it is wasting. Efficiency basically is a ratio between the useful work done by the machine to the work done on the machine, or we can say that the output to inputs, the ratio between output to input. The formula for the efficiency is output ratio between output to input into 100. Why we are multiplying it by 100? Actually, if I say a machine loses 20% of energy, then the answer would be something like 0.8. For a layman, it's difficult to understand what does the 0.8 means. But if I multiply it by 100, it gives me 80%. So it is easier to understand the meanings of the 80%. A layman can tell us, okay, machine is losing 20% of energy. So if efficiency is 80%, it means the machine is losing 20% of energy and it is 80% useful. So that's why we are using 100 over here. Otherwise, it's simply efficiency is the ratio between output to input. If I take ratio between output to input, the answer would be something like 0.8 of fraction, decimal fraction. So just to avoid the decimal fraction, we multiply it by 100. So formula remains output to input into 100. One more topic of this chapter is remaining. You have time? Yes. That is power. Power is defined as the rate of doing work. What does the rate means? So rate means how fast. If we are considering a physical quantity respect to time. So we are considering work done with respect to time. So the power describes how fast a machine can do a work. The power of machine actually calculates how quickly or how fast or in how much time a work will be performed by a machine. So the power is work done divided by time. Or all the machines are not doing work, because in the physics, the work means that we are producing a motion in an object. So if the bulb is working, bulb is not producing any motion. So it is just converting energy from electrical to light and heat. So we can define it as energy conversion over time. So we can define it as the rate of conversion of energy, rate of conversion of energy, rate of doing work, or rate of conversion of energy. Both the definitions are correct. Or the unit for SI unit for power. SI unit for power, as you can see from the formula, is joule per second. Work is measured in joules and time is measured in seconds. It's a joule per second, but the standard unit is for power is watt. W. So instead of writing joules per second, we use watt as a standard unit for power. The unit of efficiency, one thing we missed, the unit of efficiency. There is no unit for efficiency. Why it is so? Because it's a ratio between two similar quantities. If we calculate the ratio between two physical quantities like output energy, input energy, both energies are calculated in joules, they will cancel out. We don't get any unit for that. So efficiency, because it's a ratio and ratio is always between the two similar quantities, does not has any unit. So remember, if a physical quantity is a ratio of two similar quantities, then it doesn't contain any unit. So the power has a unit, watt, and 1 watt is actually 1 joule per second. If a machine is doing 1 joule of work in 1 second, we can say its power is 1 watt. Or if it is converting 1 joules of energy in 1 second, then we can say that its power is 1 watt. That's it for today, and I'll send you our sheet related to these topics. Okay, thank you very much.